So about the allegation, no, there's no allegations. I don't. At least I don't
did
think
it.
so. Not yet. Yeah, I'm sure you did. Yeah.
Well, whatever future allegations I have, I totally did it, and I did not regret.
Well, you
whatever I'm
meant,
going
I
to
think
do.
a lot of people have accused you of being from Florida and going through a whole hurricane. So I think that's the main thing. And yeah, so
As long as that gets me more sympathy, and
well,
allows me
being
to
from
get away
Florida
with
does
more
get you a lot of
things.
sympathy, pretty much by default. People are always worried about you. The Florida men.
I think.
The Florida men.
Yeah, I think you're confusing sympathy with excuses. I get a lot of excuses when I go to Florida.
Oh, he's from
Come
Florida.
on. Like,
Yeah.
it's that sort of thing. They don't go, oh, he's from Florida.
Oh, he
I feel
started
so
a
bad."
rap
They go,
career.
"Oh, no."
He's from Florida, guys. He's from Florida. It's not.
Yeah.
You guys don't understand. Yeah. So. All right. Let's start. First off, okay. So we've established you're from Florida. So what's your background? How did you find Suno? That's what I want to know. How did you get here?
Okay, but I'm not from Florida. I just happen to live here. I was actually born in Illinois, so just clear the air for that sort of thing.
Oh wait. So wait.
I tell
Chicago?
people
I used to live in Skokie for a little bit. Where?
No, Kankakee.
Oh, okay.
I was born, so like I think that's technically considered Chicagoland, but it doesn't matter. There's no reason to go to Kankakee. Just keep going another hour north and go to Chicago.
Go to Chicago.
Nothing there for you. Go to Chicago. The only good thing about Illinois. As far as how I found Suno, I'm still a part of Something Awful, the ancient web forum that's now like triple ancient versus what's current on the internet.
Yeah.
But just the AI thread there, and it's full of a lot of older people, so there's like this anti-AI sentiment that's there, but the mods and stuff have always been very even-handed there, so they're just grumbling people that just come in and... Can I
Right.
swear, or do you not want me to
Yeah,
swear?
that's fine. I don't care. Yes. Yeah. You can swear.
I'm
It's
just
okay.
gonna say shit. Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
So there are people that'll come in and there'll people that'll come in and start some shit, but then they get shouted out. So it's not like a big thing. It's just it skews older, so naturally it's gonna have that sort of thing because
The whippersnappers.
everybody complains about their. Well, it's because it's weird to see. I know I'm going off on a tangent,
Oh, go.
but that's where I found Suno. But specifically, it's this weird anti-sentiment. So I'm 40 years old, so I'm probably on the older side.
Yeah,
of-
you're extremely old. You're like
Yeah.
no. Just-
very, very old.
yeah.
So, but it's interesting because right before all this AI stuff happened, I hang out in a lot of places that aren't necessarily creative, like car sort of stuff, because I'm into like I got broad interests. Whatever.
I've seen.
But yeah. So in those zones, 1 second they'll complain about something their parents did, without any irony whatsoever, and everybody agrees and goes, "Oh, boomers," and they say that sort of stuff. And then the moment that the status quo changes
Right.
in any sort of way that they're unable to adapt to, they instantly become their parents. And again, without any irony, will say the exact same things that their parents just did
Right.
not 5 minutes ago. It's just the context is kids in their hair. Unironically, I've seen that happen. And
Yeah.
I sit up and I look, I'm like, you guys are seriously saying this? Kids today?
This generation, I've heard that
This
unironically
one.
from people I grew up with are now like this generation. I'm like,
Right.
what do you mean? What?
We were just there. We
You
were
sound like
just
a narc.
kids.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah. So, but it's interesting to see, and because I skew older, and because I'm in non-creative sort of places, those places have the loudest opinions about things, and they're the least creative people, and they're not like funny about it either. They're not like self-introspective, because if you are, that instantly breaks that line of thinking, because you can't do that because you go, God, I sound like a moron. But you know, I know I'm an idiot, so it's fine. Anyway. That's where I heard out about Suno, because there was an AI thread and somebody posted, of course, you're going to be so surprised that the first song they posted was, I can't stop shitting my pants in front of my wife. So,
I mean that tracks, especially back then. The most popular song on Suno was Cat, I believe it was. I think it's just called Cat, and it's just the word cat like a few hundred times. And then
well, I heard a little birdie told me in the Suno actual place said that gluing my balls to my
that one.
asshole or my forehead, that
yes.
song is the most popular.
Yes,
one.
it was like I glue my, and it's like a Fallout 3 song basically, and it's just
Exactly,
like,
yeah.
well, I can't. It's good. It's actually a great. I saw that on YouTube, and that was I think what brought me to Suno. I was like, well, this is
and
interesting.
Right, that you could get and the AI doesn't have any context whatsoever. This kind of highlights exactly like it doesn't think anything because it goes, all right, and it sings its heart out about things that make no sense. And just like you can get weird hallucinations, it's just mumbling. And like you try to get an actual seasoned professional and be like, hey, you pour your heart and soul into my balls or into my ass.
Right, it's very challenging.
They're gonna be like, oh yeah, okay.
It's perfect for AI. That's a great, I think that's also part of why it's so appealing when, especially early on, when people first come in, the first thing everyone does is songs like that, or just like maybe typing in some gibberish and seeing what happens.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember mine was I just did a bunch of stuff about Jar Jar Binks. I have no idea why at the time. It was just
why that out of all the things?
Yeah, it was a lot of by Jar Jar Binks, emo songs by Jar Jar Binks. But yeah, it was but they weren't sensical. It was just like Misa Jar Jar Binks, and then like a bunch of So, but yeah, Suno handling that stuff is definitely a big draw. So you got here basically because of immaturity, balls. And a lot of old men.
Immaturity balls. Hey, you could really write my entire biop.
Yeah, immaturity balls and old men.
Balls. They're not the same. And I'll spend the whole first chapter describing how immaturity and balls are not the same. They're different.
So yeah, that brings me to my second part. There are allegations that immature ball. No. Anyway, so we're. No, so your method for prompting and all that kind of stuff. Like, so you started out, you got into Suno. At some point, you became like a mod, and you actually got a lot of attention. Your account is one of the larger accounts on Suno. I don't know like what the order is and stuff, but to me, it's like I mean, it's 1.4 thousand fans, which for Suno is quite big. You have like a few accounts that are like 10,000. They're like crazy huge, but for the most part, if you're at like 1.5 thousand, it's like the top 20 accounts that at least that I know of. So how, like, what happened? Did you get noticed or something? Or, like, what was went from just making ball songs to that?
No, so, of course, everybody makes their shit pants song, and I didn't make any ball songs. A lot of shit pants, and I did, like, stand-up comedy. And I was just seeing what it could do, because obviously they're like, here, you can make music. And I'm like, what if it does stand-up? Like, and I'm definitely not alone with this, but it's basically just an audio prompt. You can just get it to do whatever. So I did a couple of that, but then you slide from ha ha ha, and then you actually start pouring in like seriousness to it. And my whole thing with Suno is I despise. That's a little strong. I don't like how the Suno reverb. I know you know exactly what it is, and anybody else that's watching this video that uses Suno knows what that is. It's a particular kind of distinctive reverberation that kind of builds.
Yeah.
And it just kind of follows the entire song. So in like version 2, that was everywhere. In 3, that was everywhere. And so with that, I started trying to make things that didn't have it. So I just wanted to see, and then that's why I named my little profile thing Chasing Clarity.
Yeah.
So to do that, it was instrumental. So anytime you added a voice, it would like drop you so much closer to that static edge.
Mm-hmm.
So then I made up a guy named Beef Diplomat, which is just fun to say, and I used that to make like a magazine with SDXL in the first time, just because it was stupid, it was silly, like a more harmless version of Shit Pants.
Yeah.
So then I made what's that?
Yeah, we have Beef. I have it on the stream right here. You have a whole playlist of Beef Diplomat songs, 41 songs actually now.
Yeah, and there's a bunch more, but then I don't like this, and then I'll take it off the list. Anyway, so then I made. Just a few songs, and they were clean, and they were good, and I was like, I like this is good, and it sounds like, I don't know, Gran Turismo music, kind of like city jazzy sort of stuff, or SimCity music, that sort of stuff. And then Pat was like, hey, because they didn't have any social stuff, and Pat is one of the devs in Suno, in case anybody doesn't know. So they were just building out the website, there was no profiles, there was no anything yet, and so they started adding this, and he goes, hey, I'm going to do a Suno showcase. Can I use Beef Diplomat on there? I'm like, yeah, sure. So then instantly that song gets placed up there, and then it just gets ultra attention because of that.
Right.
And Pat never elaborated, but I just assumed it was because it was a safe object to put up there because it was instrumental, it didn't have any lyrics, and it sounded clean. And so if I was making Suno, I would like that sort of stuff to represent
like a clean
what it can
sound.
do, which is just music.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, this all started with you trying to get a clean sound out of Suno, get rid of all the that staticky or whatever it is. I don't even know what the reverb as you called it. Do you feel like you were able to achieve that with version 3, or have you been able to achieve that yet?
Yeah, so it was harder to do in version 3, and like my way of working with Suno is like I kind of like relearn. Like every time I make a song, it's different than whenever I did it before because whatever you arrive to get there, it's like their own little art pieces. But it's easy to get that in version 3, but this is also a part where it kind of splits because so many people who I respect and like I enjoy their music and everything will post songs and they have that reverb.
Right.
And then like I kind of have to look around and I'm like, I can't be the one that hears this all the time. Like I feel almost like a crazy person because people will post something, the composition is good and the melody's good and the vocals are good, but that reverb is there. And I'm like, doesn't that bother you? Don't you want to just scream and tear and rip and tear until it comes out?
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, so I'll tell you, I didn't, so I knew that it was there for a while, but I remember I was making songs that would like, I would make songs that were like tape recorded basically, so it kind of camouflaged it, but like,
the cassette prompt was the one I used to like, in your words, I remember when you said it, it was basically introducing the correct static.
Right.
And then Suno would lean, and it sounded like it was supposed to be there as opposed to the noise that just builds up.
Right. But that was the best you could do back then. It's gotten a little better, but it's still hard, I would say.
And it is, and then I don't really, like, I got my head down. I don't really know what other people are doing. Like, I pay attention to what you do and what Alex does, and some few other people, like Mr. Tree always has some stuff. And I know later you're going to be like, oh, what artist would you recommend? And I'm going to go, oh boy, let me tell you. Because anytime I sit down to Suno, I'm creating. Like, it's like going to a workshop and then reading a wood magazine. Like, I know people do that. But it's just, and I kind of feel bad because a lot of people give me attention and I don't reciprocate, but also that's not how this works. Anyway, so to answer your full question, I think I'm at a point to where I can completely mitigate it using the presumed newer version of whatever model I have for covers.
Okay.
And as long as you use replace.
Okay.
Because covers and replace seem to use that same thing, not normal extends.
Okay.
So now so you start with something clean. It's always best if you start with something clean. And then do replaces off the end of that. So give yourself 10 seconds, replace, click the little switch that says keep the same thing.
You do replaces, not extensions. You're doing replaces specifically.
Currently, right now, yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
And that seems to avoid that because it seems like whatever, again, presumably the devs have never said it, but everybody immediately was like, oh, you can do theremen now. You can do whatever with covers where you can't do with the normal model.
There's something special about or something added.
There's something special about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's like such a depth of voices and things you can get out of it, whereas before you had to try real hard to get fancy voices.
Yeah, you're right.
But so now it seems like it's easier now to get clarity. But again, I like glacial output. I don't know. I just mess around until I get something. Like who knows? But I think it's easier now. It's still very hard, and I take for granted that it is hard because naturally I just approach it like some sort of problem that needs to be prompted around or cut around. But I think this won't be a problem forever. It's just right now.
Yeah.
And it will naturally get bred out. It'll naturally get refined out as the models keep going. So like the sound quality issue, that will be gone, and instead will be, how to get Suno to sing like you want it to, or perform like you want to, or whatever.
So, yeah, it's definitely improved. So I guess that you kind of covered part of another question I was going to have, which is what's your prompting technique right now? And so it sounds like a lot of it is you're no longer using extensions. Like in the past, I know the way most people build is, you put down the beginning of the song and then you just extend your way through it until you get something that sounds good. Just basically cutting off the bad stuff. But you're doing are you only doing replaces on the end? Are you doing replacements internally? Like how does this work for you right now? And are you doing covers or are you just doing replaces?
So this is going to go into a bunch of other weird stuff. So to get clarity, to go back to that, out of the normal 3.5, I told you about the extend from silence trick.
Yes.
And I know there's a couple other people
that have done it. This was a while ago. I think 2 months ago you started doing
I had access. Yeah, because I had access to trim, or it's called crop now.
Okay.
But it was called trim, so basically where you can cut out things and lift it out.
Right.
And cut off ends. So once I got access to that, I was like, oh, what can I do with this? And then I was just curious because it seemed like Suno, when you extend from cleaner samples, it seemed to carry itself through. And so then logically I ended up at, well, what if you started from silence? Ooh, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
So it turns out you can still do this. I have a 6-second, and I know Mr. Tree does this. You start with pure silence. The waveform is completely flat. It's not just quiet, it's dead. It's a completely dead lump of file. You put it in, and then you extend from that, and then you let Suno do whatever. And you prompt it normally. And Suno will freak out. And you've heard it, I think, where it just like screams and goes crazy with noises, and then it settles down within like 5 seconds. And then it'll start doing whatever you want it to do, and it tends to be a lot cleaner.
Interesting.
So that's what I did. So most of my songs from a while ago now, for like the last 2 months, start with that same sample. So if you use Alex's hipster tool, Plendertronics, or I don't know, whatever he calls it.
It's I don't remember what it's called, but yeah, hipster.
Yeah. So anyway, if you take any of my songs, you plug it in there, they're all going to start with that. So that's how I would start until we got covers. So then naturally I got covers, and I was like, okay, let's see what you can do. So now the same concept applies, but other people were doing it for different ways, because if covers uses a different model than normal, how do you get covers to be using that new model without actually covering anything? You cover silence. So it's the same concept. You basically just cover that sample that I would.
So you've been doing covers on that 6 seconds of silence now.
Right, and then I also tried a different thing. Mr. Tree and I were also trying it to where you have a 33-second sample, and then you can do strange things with that as far as replacing, because you can't cover.
You're replacing internally.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of different ways. So you can replace the silence, and you can only replace after you do it. Anyway, let me start over. So silence is the important part, and it seems to be something inherent to how Suno works, in that it starts from a cleaner place. And I think Jonathan Fly also had some internally back in the cool mod room. We were talking about it, and it just seems like there's something to it. So that was the meta, I guess the kids would say. Maybe the kids say it. I don't know. Maybe that's what
I don't know if there's
say.
any kids on here. But
I don't know. Whatever. They don't care what I have to say. So that was it, extending from silence. So now it's covering silence to get like the cleanest bass. And then I've never been one to be efficient with my credits, so I'm only after what I'm going to use. So like some people will try and they'll get like a 4-minute generation and they'll try to keep the whole thing, whereas I'll get just the first 5 seconds, like that's good, everything else is crap, and then I'll cut it there, and then I'll go from there. So you end up with songs with like 25 cuts, and I'm not keeping track because I'm just trying to build the song as it goes. So now cover from silence, whatever you want, or you can start with any sort of clean samples, because of course I got a playlist with 1,000 hooks. I'm like, this is good, and then I shove it there and never touch it again. So now, whatever you start with, then you simply go into the big edit menu and you do replace, and you let yourself have 10 seconds that you don't need, but replace needs at least 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So you give yourself 10 seconds on the end, replace that, and then you prompt towards the replacement, and then you just keep going. Once I have the entire song structurally built, even if there's issues I want to fix, once the whole thing is complete, assuming it doesn't go over 4 minutes, which isn't a problem for me, then I will do another pass where I'll replace ways that the singer is singing something, or any sort of like, I don't like how the inflection is here.
Yeah.
And then I'll just do hard lumps there, and then once that's done, I'll have a complete song that I like. You do all the lyrical changes and stuff, so it presents nice, you get yourself an image, and then if you need to, whole crop it so you get an entire whole new song, and then you leave the one you worked on somewhere else, and then you get the whole copy, and then you public that, and then hopefully everybody loves you.
Wait, so do you, so this is, first off, this is interesting, because this is probably more involved than anyone else I've spoken to so far, especially with the replacement methods. This is like, I would say I don't know anyone else except for maybe Mr. Tree is obviously doing the same stuff, and Fuzzy Beans I think does other similar stuff to this.
Yes. We kind of all get together and we go, oh, whoa, listen to this weird thing, and it'll be off the wall, like phone calls, or Furry Beans has a song that he didn't want to public. I don't know if you've heard it, but it was called Tape Enjoyer.
I don't think I have. Oh, no, wait, I think I did. Was it the one that was like really inappropriate?
Yes, but only because nothing overt about it sounds inappropriate. It's just all of our minds are in the gutters.
Yes,
and you're like, well,
yes.
what else could this woman be doing? Like, but it sounds like.
Yes, I've heard that one.
So,
yes.
So yeah, and it sounds like the most G-rated thing. There's nothing overt about it.
Right.
Like,
it's technically fine. But
it's because we're internet poisoned. That's why it's bad for us.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a woman, like, struggling with tape. And so you hear her going, nothing overtly sexual. It's just she's either frustrated or trying to lift something heavy. It's that sort of moment. And then you hear the sound of tape, like the grabbing and going, blah, that noise. You just hear it. And then she stops, and there's pause, but you can hear static. Like it's a recording. And then she goes, hello? Like she's gonna get caught doing something from the other side of the door. It's awesome, and it's just Suno
It's
just
very
doing
cool.
whatever. I have no idea what he's doing. So there's a lot of weird things that Mr. Tree and Furry Beans and and Jonathan and Hefcat and all those other sort of people that are like the mods and guides.
Yeah,
to see what Suno will do.
And I love that kind of stuff that you guys have. I mean, I've gotten a lot of it over I guess the last year from you guys in DMs, but the stuff that stands out to me is when we find these, like, especially you guys, you and Furry Beans and Mr. Tree, like, always tend to find these just like weird hidey holes in Suno where you'll just get stuff that's straight up like bizarre, just like kind of creepy. Like just like people talking about, like, it feels like you've wandered into a house and you're a fly on the wall, but it's a house that makes no sense. It's like surreal. You're having like this the scene you're talking about in particular. I remember doing the comedy shows. The comedy shows could get bizarre with the hallucinations. I actually did one myself, actually by accident, where I ended up having a whole song made out of laughter, which was very, very bizarre.
Yeah, it's like an Aliens idea version of human music, and it's like, well, they laugh a lot, and you just it gets a little form, and it's good, and then you give it to a human, and they go, "What the hell? No, everything's wrong."
Stop it! Yeah, no, it's
stop this.
yeah. So it's so that's okay. So awesome. So I'm gonna have to try that out personally. You've given me some ideas with the replace thing.
And just to be clear, the only reason that it's done now is because I can hear, and I've convinced myself of my own nose-up hoity-toityness that I can hear the difference between a replacement and an extension. So the idea is that the extension doesn't use this new model that presumably covers and replacements uses.
So I think you're correct.
So it's like,
I think you're correct, but
it's yeah.
I mean, it has to use something, for one thing. It has to at least use some sort of control that is able to take existing input and work with it. So you can't be wrong in that sense. Although Extend also uses something. But the other component I was thinking is, you guys, the no sound, this blank slate you guys have, Suno doesn't have that inside of it. At least to my understanding, is Suno's internals are all shh. So when you put that in, and it has to fit to that, you're kind of telling it how you're giving it like a sort of baseline goal, which is pure silence. And so even though the model doesn't understand pure silence, it's still sort of going to decrease the noise. So it makes a lot of sense. I'd be interested to see what happens if you put silence on the end too. Well,
it seems like once there's anything in the waveform, it doesn't work anymore. So like that's because like it doesn't work with just quiet. It doesn't work like if there's any form to that waveform. Like you have to upload a completely flat,
it has to be completely
thing,
flat. Yeah.
And then you go from there. But if you replace that on the end, it still has context from before, so it doesn't work.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it doesn't like we can still try it, of course. Or well, you can try it. I'm not going to try it because I'm concerned. I think I know already.
No. I meant more doing a minute of silence and then doing a replace in the center, and building out from the inside.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's what. Yeah, Mr. Tree and I were doing that with the 33 seconds.
Okay.
Because it was just.
In other words, leaving silence on both ends as a sort of like a. That way, it knows it has to get to silence, and it starts from silence. So it's kind of
Yeah.
But you guys.
So that's the other thing, like the that Danny song I just made that starts with that phone call conversation.
Yeah.
So that specifically is an upload of 33.3 seconds of silence that I then replace the front off of. Mm-hmm. So then and you can't go to the end. So it does have to end with silence, but you end up cutting it and chopping it out.
Right.
But in doing that, and that's presumably why Replace uses the new model, because you can prompt it in ways that you couldn't before. So like, if you listen to that, it sounds like this dude named Danny is horrified at what is possibly coming, and he wants presumably his brother to leave town so he doesn't get wrapped up in whatever it is, supernatural, whatever it is.
It's cool.
But he's Yeah, but he like you can hear him. He like sighs and he coughs in all the right times, and you can prompt that. So like how you can do the asterisk beep asterisk.
Yeah.
You can just do that with sigh, with hiss. I know Mr. Tree did that before, but it seems like this new model is so much more happy to get it.
Mm-hmm.
And it also sounds like whatever this cover model is more prone to phone calls if you don't give it anything. So like Mr. Tree was getting like the ringtones from phones, like the marimba or whatever it is from iPhone, or the Nokia sounds. Like they're in there and they'll just pop them out unprompted. If you give it something that looks like a phone call, it goes, I know what that is, and then it
just hands you a phone call. That's fun.
Pretty much. And it's easy to work with. And,
yeah. Also interesting sounds. All right, so this has gone in a different direction than I thought it would, because if I had to guess who is the most technical, I mean, I know that you do technical stuff, but this is definitely way more. This will be very interesting, I think, for the Patreon people, because there's a lot of technical stuff in here that I think not a lot of people know. I think really the only people using this technique are you, Furry Beans, and Tree, and like there might be a couple other people, but.
And I assume that there's other people doing it, because when people ask, like, how'd you do this? How'd you do that? And then I tell them, and then most of the time they seem to, like, do that Homer gif where they just fade into the hedge. Because it isn't easy in the sense of make good music, you know? Like,
right.
So there's, like, an involvement.
It's very involved,
where you get your hands in, like, to get your grit. And it's not hard. It's just, I don't know. I know you've talked about it before, but I seem to be easy to adapt to the weirdness that LLMs are.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of those things where it's just weird, and you have Suno staring at you, and you go, okay, and you like try to adapt and try to work around it. So all of this silence thing is just me trying to get it clear.
Right.
But then you start falling down holes, and you start getting into weirdness about how LLMs work, and Suno is that, and it just kind of spirals out from there. And then like Furry Beans wants to make weird, interesting things. Mr. Tree is a sinless, flawless machine that just wants to make music. Like it just doesn't turn off, and it's always pure, and it's always sincere, and it's great. So that's just me gushing about Mr. Tree. He's great.
Yeah, he makes a lot of songs, and they're most of them are really, really compelling. So I like his stuff. You
can't turn it off.
Yeah. Okay, now let's move on to. Gosh, what was that? We got so lost in this interview. Okay, I guess next would be what.
I'm glad I'm not running.
Okay, what would be your recommended? So this is all complex stuff. What would you recommend to like a new person coming into Suno? If you had to like go back to Kaker, at a year ago, what would you tell yourself to like speed up all this stuff and or whatever? Yeah. Anything or nothing?
I trust myself in the sense of I'm the only person I really know,
Mm-hmm.
And I still don't actually trust myself fully because I'm a big idiot. However, the journey taken to get to where I'm at now, like as far as just like all of this, I think I had to go through all that. You have to make the shit pants song. You have to try to get it to do X. You have to get it to try to do Y. And it kind of adds a structure to work through. So like I don't regret anything that I ever did as far as time or money or credits or any of that sort of stuff, because all that needed to happen in order to where I'm at here. But for new people, it's kind of like what Alex said, just kind of prompt simple and just see, and then if something starts grabbing you, then you chase it down. To go back to the question of how you start prompting, I basically just fuck around until I hear something, and then I go, oh, what's that? And then like I chase that. So it's more akin to like a miner in a cave or something, where I'm just kind of looking for things that are compelling, and then the form comes out from that. Or like how people who sculpt and like carve, and how they'll often say that they're freeing something that's in it.
Right.
As opposed to creating something. There's already something there. They're just clearing away everything on the outside to present it.
That's a great analogy.
That's kind of how Suno works.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything is in there already, and it's basically just how you carve out the outsides in order to present whatever it is. Exploring the latent space, I've heard you say.
Yes. Well, this is a great answer. The correct answer was to tell yourself to invest in Bitcoin. So, yeah, you... yeah, I'm sorry to... yeah.
No, that's not it. It's invested in NVIDIA.
That's true. NVIDIA was the winner here. 2,700% up or something like that. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on from weird investment stuff. You have a second thing to you, which I find interesting. in particular your art, I think is, or your whatever people want to call it. I call it art. I don't care whether it's machine made or not. Is of a higher quality, in my opinion, than a lot of stuff I see. I know you use Midjourney. Are there any other tools you use?
Finally, somebody understands.
Well, okay, actually, this before we even get to that, do you have any art background, or is just like all from Suno? It all came out of this.
No, so I debate, I guess, people on Discord when they talk about that, and like people will come in and be like, "This isn't really art because of X, Y, Z," because they're setting the goalpost in wherever particular they happen to be. Right. But I am, and actually, I guess not classically trained. I went to art school. Mm-hmm. I did art throughout high school, and then I went to university, and I did it, and then I ended up running out of people to borrow money from. So then I dropped out. So I don't have any sort of degree. But anybody that's in the art zone knows that the degree does not matter in your portfolio specifically, what you can output. So yes, I do have an actual background in that, and then most of what I've done in that realm is like photography and that sort of stuff. So the way that these generative AI models have gone suits me perfectly, because I like real, strange, old like catalogs and like just all sorts of stuff, because it's an aesthetic that I really like. Mm-hmm. And I like the true aesthetic, not the, hey guys, look, I'm on VHS, and it's just a bunch of corruption because
you want it to look like it's like Sweden. Yeah, I think that stuff is very fun. And your wife knows that you like to do photography. It's not a no. I'm just, this is a photographer. If you're a photographer, then you'll get the joke. But anyway, moving forward, so you're basically in this case you got into Midjourney because you have, or a lot of this stuff you have a background in visual art. Did you do any music before, or entirely visual stuff?
No. Nope. Music is strictly, so ironically enough, I don't subscribe to this, but some people do. So my family is big into music. My grandpa has a bunch of guitars and stuff. And actually my great uncle, Billy Williams, is a Grammy award-winning something for Lyle Lovett. I don't know if it's like songwriting or what, but anyway.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so there's Billy Williams is my grandmother's brother. I don't know if he's actually still alive because he's old. So there's that connection if you want. I watched him win a Grammy. That was cool. We're not ultra close or anything. He's just like, hey, happy to see you. But he's a great uncle, so he's got like a giant root system of people and kids and stuff.
Yeah. That's so cool.
But no, as far as personally, no, I kind of diddled around with the mandolin a bit, but it never went anywhere because it was just a thing. But I was never in any bands. I never did any, like, besides playing with Fruity Loops and going, but it never grabbed me. I just messed with it for like 3 days. All right. But I know what I like. Yeah. I think I can hear like production stuff. Like if I was going to be anything, it would be a producer.
You said that before.
To where I would refine. Yeah, I would be able to refine things. They could be like, here, listen to this. And I'd be like, okay, this is great. But what if we X? What if we Y? What if we Z? But as far as just sitting down and just like expressing, I need some sort of hook. I need somebody to bounce off of, or Suno to spit something out, some sort of hallucination. To get it started. I need a lawnmower yank in order to get going. I can't just electrically start.
You're not the only person. That I think that's normal. I don't think most people are just like, well, here we go. I have full of ideas. No. I mean, unless you're like really living life, but like I've got time. If you're making art all the time, you don't have time for that. Like you're not living life.
Well, you like run out. Like oh, I'm sad again. Like it runs, it's like tiring.
Dude, I haven't been sad in like I don't even remember the last time I was sad. I had to make stuff up. Anyway, like. I'm like, okay, you're 40, I'm 33, so I'm a little younger than you. But like, as you just stop. I mean, yeah, eventually things can get real bad, but like when they're not, they're not, and I just don't have. Yeah, so I have to look around for stuff. So I totally get that, but I think that's normal. Yeah. But yeah, so I have to say I very much appreciate the visual stuff. So this makes sense now because you definitely have an eye for the visual art stuff, and I just love hearing about people's backgrounds because I think people really underestimate how many of the people here are artists or people who you'll be arguing with them and they'll be like, this isn't art, and I'll be like, dude, you clearly don't know anything about art, because like I can tell you some things that are art that would blow your mind that you'd be like, that's not art either, and that guy made millions of dollars selling art. So
either if you just say like ethereal art, clearly he's it, and if it's like it only counts if he makes money, then it's very much art, just because he got rewarded for it.
Yeah, so it's go ahead.
That sort of argument, it always seems like and this is going to make a lot of people upset if they care. I mean, nobody should care what I have to say because I'm just some dude. But the people that complain about AI art are the least creative people I've ever directly interacted with.
Yes.
And it really is unfortunate because there's a lot of stuff that people post in Suno that I just thumb my nose at. I don't say it to them.
Right.
But like, I am so far up my own ass, dude. I have no idea. Like, I am. If people post something and go, oh, no. And I don't say anything because nobody wants to hear it. But like, and the same thing with visual art. Like, people keep posting just the most basic, and it hurts me in some sort of level, and it's all in my head. Like, somebody will post something that they're proud of, and like, it doesn't count for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
no, I get that 100%.
I have a huge ego, I guess is what I'm saying, but it's a secret ego.
I think that's fair. I mean, I think if you're doing something and you've spent a lot of time on it, and also you know what's good and what's not good at a certain point. Now, there's someone else who's better than you, who's like Kaker. And like you know, I shit on his head. I am from France. You know, well, let's not make fun of French people. French people are cool, but they have strange voices. Okay, no, they don't speak English like we do. Anyway, no, but I agree with you wholeheartedly. I also, unlike you, right? I didn't like just thumb my nose and like put, like someone would be like, "Can you give me feedback on this?" Like out of nowhere, and I'd be like, "Oh yeah, sure," and then I just give them real feedback. Yeah. And then it would be like, "Oh, oopsies." I gotta. Yeah,
well,
and then
that's the thing. Like, you and Alex are much more involved in the community. Like you guys are much more open about how you do stuff, and I am too. Especially when people ask, I'm like, "Oh yeah, I do this," but like I said earlier, I like got my head down because I don't really care what anybody else is doing. I don't care about likes, I don't care about follows. I don't care because that's not what I'm here. If you could strip all the social stuff away, and I would still be just as excited for Suno because that was the whole point. That's what I got here for, was to be like, whoa, they can say poop.
Right.
That's crazy.
No, exactly.
I'm still doing that, and I still get like Frizen listening to certain stuff. Like Suno will deliver something, and then I'll go, oh, and then I'll quick rename it. Oh, potential, really good stuff, and I'll shove it in a playlist to be forgotten about.
Yeah, I have that
like,
stuff.
It's just. Yeah.
Those amazing sounds, just like a collection of like great sounds, or like just amazing like 5 notes that you're like, oh, that's a great 5 notes, and then I don't know what happened to them. They're all gone.
I've got a playlist of unique voices, which I'm waiting to be able to use. So in whatever way, because Suno keeps giving us different aspects to do it. Because now with cover, you can cover things that sounded good melodically, but were crap. So now you got covers, so now you can run them through and see if you can get something else out of it.
Yeah, that's been really useful. Okay, fine. I guess the last thing we'll finish this up because I wanted to go too long. Is
I've got nothing but time, guys. So it's just on you.
Who would you? Well, I still have to do work tonight, unfortunately. Who would you recommend someone to go listen to if you have a recommendation? If you don't, that's also fine because you said I don't really listen to stuff on Suno. If you don't really listen to much, then that's also a valid answer.
Yeah, and this is the part where I go, oh, whoa, boy.
Yeah,
there's probably, because nobody should care what I have to say, because I don't care.
Oh, are you worried about it being like favoritism, like somebody thinking you like one?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. If I had kids, I would be like, you're my favorite, you're the worst. Like, I would, that's just how it would go. But specifically, it's basically you, Alex, Mr. Tree. Like, I don't do the like for like thing. I don't do the follow things. I don't care about building some sort of network of whatever social crap. I am interested in doing things with you and Alex and other people that I directly like go, oh, there's something there, because a lot of people, there's nothing there. They're just chasing algorithms. They're just chasing followers.
Yeah, it's strange.
It doesn't matter.
It's a strange. We talked about this. It's a strange take. I'm 100% agree with you. It's just like, what's the point? Yeah. Because in the end, I don't understand what you're gonna get ultimately. Like, you might get $100 or something from like people paying you for whatever if you have some sort of a. But it's not worth it.
It isn't even that though. I don't even know. Because I've been on the internet long enough to know that the money thing is just something you can point to as like a receipt for why people are the way they are later when they do something stupid. But it is all fiefdoms. It is all.
It's so strange.
Like this ego economy. And it is, and it just reflects normal people, because you'll be out in a normal world and people do the same thing. They have like egos about themselves and they think they're important, and it's a weird thing, and I'm no different. I'm exactly the same as all those other people. It's just my particular brand is better. But yeah, the weird social aspects are very strange. But I would like to collectively go off into our own little corner and just make stuff that we want to make. Because I'm doing Suno stuff. because it's what I do. And I would use Udio too. Is that how you pronounce it? Udio,
I don't know.
Udio?
I pronounce it Udio, but I really have no idea. We can just, yeah.
It's better if it's Udio. And the only reason I don't use that is because that's not where my like muscle memory went. Like I'm so far deep in Suno.
Yeah, it's
to,
hard.
Like, change. Exactly, and I don't want it. I'll just wait until something happens, or like you do something with it, or something like that.
Yeah.
But I invested.
Yeah, same.
My time into Suno.
Same. I only recently got decent enough at Udio to be able to use it in the same way, where you can just fire off a song. But yeah, in Suno you just type in. At this point, I can just come up with stuff that works in Suno, and we've been using it now for a year, and we've been using it we've both made thousands and thousands of. I don't even know how many. So there's something about the muscle memory there where it's like kind of hard to let go of. Not that I would. Suno is still great. I like them both, but
that's why I write my own stuff. You didn't ask me that, but that was.
The writing.
Everybody else.
That's a good. Yeah, that was a great question. Yeah. Wait. So how do you come up with your? Is it just like story based, or do you? Is it like stuff that like if when your wife like hurts your feelings, you like go into your corner and you're like, God damn it, or something like that.
No, I just tell her directly, but I'm like, don't talk to me. No, it's so I kind of feel detached from it because a lot of what like I write isn't reflective over me. Like I don't know, like my most popular lyrical song is Lazarus One by my band Wheygazer.
And you're not even from space.
And I've never even been to space. I don't even think I've actually looked at space. Not really. I looked through the sky. But that, so like, and how that works. Yeah, it was a thing, and I was like, started with the radio announcement because people don't do that, and that's cool. I like it when stuff starts with that, and then just, I don't know, there's a fighter pilot, I guess, Lazarus One. They're going into enemy territory, and they die at the end because Lazarus One, ha ha ha. And that was like, you just keep walking through, and it just kind of popped out, and I was like, it sounds great. And then later it got added to the Suno showcase and replaced that Beef Diplomat song. Because it was impressive enough, I guess. And a lot of people will say it, and like I'll see, and it does my ego no favors, but I'll see people talking in the Discord, and they're like, yeah, Lazarus One is what got me to do this.
That's awesome.
And then I go, who's that? Oh, Lazarus One. Oh. And I do really like it.
It is crazy to see. Like, yeah. You get a lot on there from these. It's awesome.
Yeah, and then to reflect it back onto you and Alex, you guys are far more like outsider art than I am.
Yeah.
Like I'm quite traditional as far as like the music that I put out, to where in your guys' cool collective parties, I won't share my music because people be like, oh, I was getting a thing. And then I'd be like, I made a song about a space fighter. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, I think that fits fine, but yes, I get the feeling, but you shouldn't feel that way because it's not. It's really.
I honestly don't, because obviously I get invited, but my talents, I guess, lie in the production aspect, the clarity, the getting Suno to do stuff, that sort of stuff.
Gotcha.
So if we could delineate out things like this, I would take your lyrics or your music or Alex's idea, and I would
refine something.
KakerMix knows exactly.
Right. Well, like you said with your Wheygazer, the way you came up with Lazarus One was it just kind of flowed out. It's the same sort of principle where you had something and you're like, oh, I can see that this could go here, and so that seems to be sort of your strong suit in this situation, which is, I think, a strong suit to have. I mean, I think it's clearly working for you. So, all right, awesome. You know what? I actually. Oh man, I had another question occur to me while we were talking, and I've forgotten it. I haven't asked other people this, but I was interested. Where do you see? Just because you've kind of stimulated my thought process in a lot of these things, because you talked about weird ways of prompting that I never would have thought of personally. I mean, so did Alex when he was talking about like how he comes up with the lyrics. Never would have thought of that. The hallucinations.
No, and then, I steal yours and his stuff all the time. I'm like, what's Alex doing? Oh, great. Like,
yeah. I did it the other day.
The Rather Cry, I swiped his lyrics from that really good song. I forgot what it's called, but it's basically The Computer in the Loop. Is it that one specifically?
I believe it is. I'll have to check.
Yeah, sorry, Alex. But anyway, I just copied those lyrics wholeheartedly because also Suno reacts differently depending on what you have. And since we can crop stuff out, you can just put whatever you want in there, and it will start giving you a melody, going to that, and then you go, nope, and you slice it off, and you get different words to work with. And that's 100%. What I did. So his song is in that complete song. If you use this tool to go,
Right.
I think it's in there unless I edited the lyrics out. But so like I do that all the time. I'll just plop whole things and I'll drop them in, but I'm not out to steal music or whatever.
Right.
And his rendition,
You're using
his
it
lyrics are
as
really
like
good.
literally as an inspiration. Like, and so I think that's
Exactly.
it's very machine learning of you, because this is one of the areas people misinterpret about machine learning is they're like, oh, it's stealing, and like you can just clearly see your song sounds nothing like his song. It is not his song, but his song is an integral part of how your song got made. Without his song, this song would not exist. So I think that's the thing that's so cool.
Giving me that hook.
Right, when giving you the, or just whatever, even something intangible. Sometimes I have a song that sounds so different than the song I started out with when I'm doing like a cover chain or whatever, but that song still would not exist without that original song, which is the strangest thing, you know, that to think about with it.
Is that the first time you said the term cover chain? Because that sounds
I use
like
cover
it should
chain.
be an actual term we talk.
Yeah, cover chain is my main
cool
term.
Like, go through a cover chain and like then you have 11 covers of whatever song.
Yeah, it's you know that right now with the main method I'm using, which is the oscillation stuff. Although I've been looking at a lot of different, I don't know, I use a lot of different stuff, but more recently I've just gotten to where I like doing covers, and I like just it makes things much more straightforward, and it's more surprising to me when I get something good for some reason.
Yeah.
So it gives me a little bit more dopamine. But yeah, basically, anyway. I think this has been really elucidating, really interesting. Hopefully, when Alex gets back from Japan, we'll do some more of this kind of stuff with the three of us. I think doing like a podcast or something like that would be fun. Also, Imami, I don't know if you saw the Twitch stream. He says we're all dropouts. Well, I'm not a drop. I didn't go. Well, I guess I did drop out technically. I went to college for like 1 year, but all my friends were art school. Well, art school dropouts are people who didn't get the scholarship or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But it's Atlanta, you know.
Well, art school is like it's a good thing. Art schools and colleges can be a good thing, but it's strictly where the people that will inspire you and like guide you along are. And if it just happens to be a college, so be it. Also, if you just went into, I don't know, the back alley of Harlem, that might be where your inspiration is. It doesn't particularly matter. Like anything can be an art school in the sense of what it's supposed to be, because it's inherently not delineated out in, oh, you got an X grade, you got a Y. Like, that's not how art works.
I still do think, though, that, I mean, if you look at, like, for example, a lot of people will point out stuff, but if you look at, like, Langston Hughes, this is a great example. I don't know if you know, but Langston Hughes is, like, a very famous poet, because you mentioned Harlem. Like, so he's, like, a very famous black poet. He's the one who did The Raisin in the Sun. That's Langston Hughes. And I just think it's interesting as people assume, like, oh, they got, but all of these artists, it doesn't matter what their background is, all of them, what they have in common to me is that they study art. They study, like, they spend some amount of time studying even if you're doing it on your own, like in your case, like you went to art school, and I'm assuming you have an interest in art in general, so you're able to know aesthetically what is pleasing to you, but also you're able to see, like, oh wow, that's cool, that's something I haven't seen before. Right, and actually know that. Whereas this is why you're thumbing your noses. You know, if you have a bunch of people who haven't, you know, they're like, oh, I haven't seen that before, and you're like, I've seen that a million times. Like, what do you even, you know, like that's not that new. That's new to you. Not me.
No. I don't think you understand how up myself I am. Like it's more like I look at them and the character of their person hasn't like awakened in any particular sort of way yet, and maybe they won't. You know what I mean? Like, if I show something to my wife or any of my friends that I'm like actually close with, or you or Alex, I presume, if we ever meet in real life, I'll see the spark. I'll see the appreciation immediately off of your guys' face. Right. And some people, like, I don't know, like the guy down the road that I don't know, if I show it to him, it'll just be dead. And it isn't anything particularly. It's more like I'm looking at the reaction that person has and whether or not they're like soul blinks. You know what I mean? Like, it's a very
is there something
esoteric sort of thing.
It's interesting. That's an interesting way to put it.
Yeah, but so like for instance, my wife and I, we've been together almost 20 years now, and we'll just be out doing something. It doesn't matter what it is. And there'll be some sort of particular something, sound, a smell, a particular character we see, and my wife and I don't say anything to each other, and then one of us will say, that thing though, and we don't even mention it, and the other person knows exactly what they're talking about because we both saw it. Right. So like, and that's what I mean in like, it's a loud burst of some sort of something that gets your attention that most people don't notice. Not most people, but a lot of people just simply don't even see it. And you're like, how can you not see that? Wasn't that so crazy? Wasn't that so funny? Wasn't that so cool?
Right.
Wasn't that so odd? But it just doesn't have it. And that's like, at least in my head, and the older I get, that seems to be where the delineation is. It isn't really about the aesthetics itself. It's whether or not some person has some sort of reaction to whatever it is that you do have a reaction to.
Right.
And then that splits whether or not you respect that person or not in matters of aesthetics.
I think mine is more it's very similar, but it's just sort of like I feel like as I've gotten older, people don't play enough. Is the way I would say. It's just play in terms of. It just seems so dead to me sometimes. I'm like, I can't. Like, I like to talk serious. I like to talk shop. Like, I get really into stuff. But I also just want to, like, make a fart joke without, like, somebody being, you know what I mean? Or just, like, do something silly because you get some amazing stuff out of doing things that are strange.
What's that, it's that meme they post where it's, like, some sort of, it's meant to be a stupid person, and then it's the plot graph where
yes I know what you're talking about. You have the
and then and then it has the top person being all taking themselves seriously, and then you get enlightened, and then you go back to what you were when you were an idiot. Like, it's that, like, I think one was like, the guy's name is Zelda, and then he goes, no, it's actually Link, and then you go back over here and you go, his name is Zelda. Like, you understand somehow. You like go through that process where you take yourself too seriously, and you can like embrace the baseline of stuff again.
100%.
So, like, play. And that's sort of, like, if you take yourself so seriously that you can't play, then you're not serious, then you're very weak, and you're not confident, and, like, there's those sort of things that roll into it. So.
Yeah, I think it's definitely, there's a lot of stuff that, I mean, I also take for granted, you know, some people just are a little bit, I don't know, just have those insecurities or whatever. Also, a lot of people are younger. I think we're older. We're both married. I mean, Alex has balls on him. Like, he's not married, I don't think. And, you know, he still seems to be very confident. So I appreciate that stuff. But, like,
I have to mention it, though. I have to mention how, and Alex, I'm sorry when you see this later, but I thought it was hilarious when the stream started. He had his
the
hat.
It was great.
Like, what is he doing?
And he had the background, the Matrix. I thought it was great.
No, it looked cool, but I was like, what are you doing? Like, he's so like, what's up? What's up?
It reminds me of a lot of the just people I used to hang out with in Atlanta. It's a lot of I don't know. It's something about that aesthetic. I'm for it. Whenever Alex could do anything, and I'll be like, oh, he's an artist. I mean, what do you want from me?
Yeah. No.
Of course he came out in sunglasses.
I mean this.
I
mean this in the positive. Alex is far cooler than you are. You're a dad in Israel,
right?
In Florida. Alex
100%.
is a young professional in Boston, so he's got it. Northeastern United States.
He's doing it. All right, cool. Well, we'll talk again. This is KakerMix. Check out his songs. I'll put some my favorite. Kaker, send me your favorite of yours, and also like a recommendation or whatever from some other people's songs. Good night, everybody, or a day.